Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to take these two palettes, the Peridot palette from BH Cosmetics Birthstone series and the Lush Life palette from ColourPop, and I wanted to do sort of a palette duel with them because when I saw this palette, I was excited and I really liked it. And it wasn't until I actually had it in my possession that I realized why I liked it so much. That reason being that it is very similar to a palette which I already owned and loved, Lush Life palette from ColourPop. So what I'm going to do is one eyeshadow look using the shadows within these palettes that are most comparable and see which one performs better, which one ends up looking better, how close they are, and do you need both? If you're interested in seeing that, don't go anywhere. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom and I love to play with colorful eyeshadow. So if you would like to see lots of colorful content on your timeline, I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing because I upload about 3 videos a week. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick swatching comparison of the shadows that I feel are closest within these two palettes. There's no good match for this bright yellow. We have this one right here, which is more of a peachy yellow. I'll probably use them almost interchangeably, but they're not a close match. Then we've got here Independent, and I think that that is probably closest to, well, honestly, it's a cross between these two. This one's more brown, this one's more orangey, but I think that I'm going to compare it to NONI right here. So we've got Independent and NONI. Independent is certainly more brown. They're close, not the same. Then we've got this dark green matte over here. In this palette it is called Brave, and in the Lush Life palette, of course, it is called On the Prowl. Brave is a lot more of a deep dark forest green. On the Prowl is more of a tropical teal sort of shade. Close, not the same. We've got this shade here called Generous, which is like a medium pink matte, and I'm going to compare that to Guava over here. These two are much more similar. This is Generous, and this is Guava. They're actually quite close. Then I want to compare the blue shimmers. This is called Enthusiastic, and this is called Juicy. Enthusiastic, you see, is a lot more blue, and Juicy is a lot more green, again, towards the teal side of things. They're close, they're not the same. These palettes are certainly not dupes of one another, but I think that they're close enough that you can get a very similar look and probably not need both. And then finally, I want to compare this lime green. We've got Peridot here and Palm right here, and these two are quite similar actually. Peridot and Palm. Very similar, both really nice light green shadows. I can card above for you the video that I did a couple of weeks or months back where I was swatching all of my lime green shimmers because I love a lime green shimmer, and these two ranked quite high in that swatching video. So if you're interested in that, I'll card it above for you. But anyway, I have a plan for this look. I'm actually filming quite late at night, right before I go to bed, because I know that these are not going to be so close that I could film in the morning and then just go about my day. They're going to be different. They're not going to be exactly the same. So I'm actually just going to wash this off and go to bed. But I really wanted to get this done because I was curious about how they compared next to each other, and I think I'm going to be decluttering the Peridot palette because I really don't need two palettes that are so similar. And I do prefer, I love the Lush Life palette. So being that I love it, I prefer it, and it has more shadows, I think that's kind of the obvious choice. I want to get started here. I'm going to take a blending eye brush from e.l.f. This is like a half moon sort of shape, and I'm going to dip into the darkest matte. Now I'll tell you what, I won't tell you which eye I'm doing which palette, and I'll let you guess and comment below which one you think is which, and then I'll let you know at the end. But I'm going to dip into the dark green matte. Within the Peridot palette it's called Brave, and within the Lush Life palette it's called On the Prowl. I'm going to start that matte in my outer corner in the crease and work it towards the inner corner, but I'm only going about halfway. Honestly, all of these shadows perform very, very well. They're all really beautiful, nicely formulated shades. It's just, I don't feel like I need both of them. I think they're close enough that, especially because I have a larger collection. It's not like hundreds of palettes kind of large. It's definitely not that big, but I have enough palettes for myself. I'm always interested in different ones coming in, and I want to keep my collection something that is manageable and something where palettes don't get forgotten about and lost. So if I have two palettes that are super similar, I might see the value in both of them, but I just don't see the value in keeping both of them if they're like almost twins. Okay, I'm going to blend a little bit more later, but I want to move on to the next color. I'm going to take a large pencil brush, and I'm going to take the next shade, which is like the dark, more bricky sort of terracotta color. In the BH palette, it's called Independent, and in the Lush Life palette, it is called NONI. And let's see how these look. I'm gonna put this in the inner corner and crease and raise it up to meet the green matte. The reason I used a pencil brush for this is because I wanted to keep it more contained, like a little bit more of a precise application just in one area. I don't really want to spill this too far onto my lid. And then where the two mattes meet, I'm just gently working them together a little bit. I do plan on blending that out with the lighter, more pinky matte, but we'll get there, one thing at a time. Now I'm going to take a pencil brush and grab the lighter, more medium pink matte shade. One of them is called Guava, that's the Lush Life palette, and then the shade is called Independent within the BH palette. And I'm going to use this right on the edges of these two colors to try to blend them and soften them a little bit. All right, that's all pretty well blended. I did take the green shade and deepened up both sides because the green was kind of getting lost in the blending. This is definitely not my best work, but it's almost midnight, so I'll give myself a little bit of slack. I really want to see how these palettes compare next to each other. I'm not going out or putting a lot of stock in this. So now it's time to move on to shimmer. I'm going to take the blue shimmer. It's called Enthusiastic in the BH palette, and it's called Juicy in the ColourPop palette. So I'm going to grab the shadow on my flat C or shader brush, and then I'm going to spray it with setting spray and lay this on the whole lid space from the inner corner out to meet the mattes. This is a nice shimmer, and again, both palettes have really good formulas, and so it's not really a formula contest because they're both great. I'm just curious to see how they go next to each other. Grabbing the shadow, spraying my brush, and then laying it on the lid space. These two shimmers are certainly not dupes. Again, there aren't not any real dupes within the palettes. They're just super similar. So you're not gonna dupe it out, but if it's the same vibe, you don't need both. Now I want to take a more flat blending brush and I want to grab the more yellowy shade. Now these two are quite different in the two palettes. In the BH palette it's called Outgoing and the ColourPop palette is called Eco. They're quite different shades. I'm not going to tell you which one is which in case you don't remember because I want you to try to guess which eye I'm doing. But I'm going to put that as like an inner corner highlight right here. And I think that I'm just going to drag, I think I'm going to do the lime green shimmer because why not? We'll use all the shadows in the palette. I think I'll do the lime green shimmer on the entire lower lash line just for kicks and to see how it performs and how it compares because that's what this video is all about. So for that lime green shimmer named Peridot in the Peridot palette and Pom Pom in the Lush Life palette, I'm taking the same flat shader brush that I used for the other shimmers and I'm going to dip into the pan and spray the brush. And then I'll lay this on the entire lower lash line. Then for my waterline, I think I'll grab the shade Aglow from ColourPop's Creme Gel Liners, and I will tightline the whole waterline. I'm going to throw on a basic liner. I'm not going to do a wing because I'm going to bed in like 5 minutes. And mascara, and just come back to you to show you how it all turns out totally finished. All right, here's the finished look. I did put on some mascara and eyeliner, and that's pretty much it. So which eye do you think is the BH Cosmetics eye, and which eye do you think is ColourPop? I'll give you a minute to guess, or comment, whatever you like. Wait patiently while twiddling your thumbs. Okay, this is the BH Cosmetics eye, and this is the ColourPop eye. Now, I'll be totally honest with you, I actually prefer the BH eye, and that really surprises me because I love the Lush Life palette, but I think that with, first off, the shimmer is much brighter and more vibrant with the BH eye. Of course, the colors themselves are slightly different. They're not exact dupes. The colors of the shimmers, this shimmer from BH Cosmetics has a little bit more of a silvery blue, whereas the shimmer from ColourPop is definitely more of a teal. However, it's not a very vibrant or light-catching teal. It's quite muted. And overall, I think this eye blended a little bit better. Now, I did make a slight mistake over here, so this eye, like the outer section, looks a bit patchier, but I don't know. I think that the ColourPop shadow tones are definitely more muted and sort of heavier feeling, whereas the Peridot tones are a little bit more lighthearted with a slight lighter edge to them, and so that makes a difference as well. I think the palettes are certainly very, very similar. You do not need both. I have both. You do not need both. If you just want one and your eyeshadow style is a little bit less moody and a little bit lighter, I would recommend the Peridot palette if you're able to find it. BH Cosmetics kind of went under. Haven't heard boo from them since they were bought out by Makeup Revolution, but if you can find the Peridot palette, it's a great palette. You can see it performed very nicely. Even if you're tired, you're gonna get a pretty decent eye look. The shimmer is pigmented and bright, and the shadows all blended together nicely. If you like a little bit of a moodier tone to your looks, or you like the moodier tones to pair with other things, or you want a palette that simply has more options, then I would recommend Lush Life. Also an excellent palette. I'm not gonna blame my messy eye look on the palette itself because I'm tired and I made a couple mistakes on this side. So it is what it is. I absolutely do not think that you need both of these palettes. You just don't. They're so close. You're gonna get such a similar look. I mean, I used 6 shadows. I used every single shadow. There's just one pressed glitter in here. I used every shadow within this palette. And 6 out of what, 12? How many are in here? So I used 50% of the shadows in this palette, and you can see the eye look is close enough. I mean, it's close enough. You're gonna have good results. They're gonna be pretty, and at the end of the day, it might be a matter of what you can get your hands on or which general color story you prefer a little more if you want a little bit brighter or a little bit deeper and moody. So there you go. That's my head-to-head comparison on the Lush Life palette from ColourPop and the Peridot palette from BH Cosmetics. I think they're both lovely. I don't think you need both, but if you have one, you're good to go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, for clicking on my video. Remember to like and subscribe if you would like to see lots more colorful content on your timeline. And until I see you again, I hope you have a really lovely day. Bye!